Hi divas, divinely inspired, vivacious artists. I want to share more about junk journaling. It is junk journaling June or July when you're watching this. I want to show you, I gave you a smidgen in my last video of some tools that I use. I want to expand on that and I want to get started with the foundations. And as you remember, junk journaling isn't about the insides, what you put on the inside, so much as it is the creation of the journal. There's a lot you do to put stuff in to them. That's not the point. But every other journal is about what you put in. Is it an art journal? Is it a written journal? Is it a dream journal? Is it a glue book? Is it this, that, or the other thing? And everyday or commonplace journal, this, that, or the other thing. And you can take any journal that's already made out there and create it to do any of those functions. This is a junk journal. Junk journal to me, and now there's many definitions out there, but junk journal to me is turning your trash into treasure. It's creating the album out of trash that's going to hold your precious treasures, whether it be thoughts or ideas or pictures or artwork or whatever, okay? So, turning trash into treasure. And I love this saying. I came across it in one of the packs I recently opened. One person's trash is another's craft stash. That's us. That's us, divas. So I hope that you will find this series enlightening, and I hope that you will find it inspirational and worthy of a second look. So I'm going to show you right now some of the things that I did include in the last one and some of the things that I didn't, and we'll go forward from there. The basics, you need something to measure with. And that can be a tape measure that has both centimeters or inches on it. I find that very helpful in the retractable way here, okay? I also have a metal ruler. Now, why metal? Because if you're using some of the cutting tools I'm going to show you, metal is the only way to go. Okay? And it won't bend or it'll be nice and solid and help you hold down whatever you're working on at the time. You'll see. You'll need a metal ruler. All right? Those are the measuring things. Obviously, you need a pencil or pen to help you mark things before you measure. And next would be the cutting tools I'm going to show you. Yes, I showed you before. I showed you the cutter. All right. This one, this Recollections brand, not only has a flip out glide here. Okay, to keep everything nice and even across the top. It has a cutter that is replaceable. It also has a scorer. This has a smaller blade. It's not really even a blade, it's more of a denter. It gets some of the material pushed out of the way so that it's easy to bend on those lines. Sometimes when you are making creases, when you are doing the backs of the books, you need this. Hey, you know what? I'm a simple person. The simpler the tools, the simpler of things that you use, the simple techniques that you use, the better, in my opinion. So, obviously, a scissors, a large one, a craft one, a tiny little embroidery scissors, whatever you want to use, whatever's durable and nice enough weight to do what you want it to do. Other cutting tools. I found these little mini knives, I think at the dollar store, and they have a push button retraction on them. You can have X-Acto knives where you change the blades. They are extremely sharp, as you can probably tell, the glint in the light. I got them from Temu, actually. Is a little knife blade, and I'm telling you, you need the metal ruler if you're going to be slicing along the edge of a straight edge. And you will also need a cutting mat with those. This is a Creative Memories cutting mat. It's a self-healing board, and that way you won't cut through to your tablecloth or your table. I don't want to tell you what happened one time when I was too lazy to do that. Get yourself a cutting board. Trust me, you won't ruin something good that you wish you didn't later. And another thing, if you're going to be working with junk mail, these little junk mail tools that just, you get it inside and rip up the side of the envelope so that it opens the envelope very easily. You can get these at the dollar store. It's next to nothing. Some companies give them away free with their logo on it. It's a letter opener is what it is. These are very, very handy. All right, so those are some of the cutting tools that you're going to need, and you will need them often. You need glues. If it's simple of gluing paper to paper, I love Elmer's, the school glue, or the photo adhesive glue. To me, that seems to be about the best. They actually work. This is disappearing purple school glue. It's not my favorite, but it will do. Sometimes in the long term, it sort of loses some of its stickiness. So it's not, for me, it's not a complete permanent solution, but it will hold something stuck in place while you're building some things together. And it can even, there is some that are repealable, repositionable, I guess they call it, that you can use in your creations. All right. Another thing I like is crafter's tape. This is, you can get them in multi-packs, and you can get them in, I want to show you how it opens. You can get refills. I bought a box of multi-packs and a box of refills. You just push these two in, flip the lid, snap in the refill, and you're good to go. This is double-sided tape. It's sticky on both sides. It's sticky as it runs down along something, and it leaves a sticky strip for you to stick it down on something else. I love crafter's tape. There are repositionable versions of those. Some is the whole tape, some is dots, a dot tape. Many versions. This is stronger than the glue stick. A lot of glue sticks don't work. Okay, your next option is your everyday. Okay, this is either dollar store white glue, PVA glue, that kind of thing. This is your dollar store white glue. Elmer's Glue All multi-purpose. I wouldn't thin it. It says easy water cleanup. That's fine. Bond strong to a variety of surface. It does take a longer time to set permanently, as you know. I would not thin it with extra water because you need it sort of thick. You don't want the extra water in it because thinning it out will get water on your paper, and paper warps with water, as you know. These are just little plastic bottles that you can use. Get a big quantity of it and put it in your own little bottles. This is a dollar store bottle. You know, I have to keep clearing out to the top of it all the time. This gives, I have a lot of these plastic bottles for sale on my Etsy shop. This gives a nice metal tip. It's cleaned out easily by a sewing pin. Stick it in there, pull it out. For the most part, it keeps it cleaned out. And this little silicone tip keeps it covered. Okay, so I have a lot of these bottles if you need one on Etsy shop. So they're, you know, inexpensive. But these are refillable bottles with any old dollar store or Elmer's glue. But what you can do is get a brush with silicone brushes. This is a Craft Smart 2-inch. They come in a variety of sizes. I have used this for polyurethaning. I have used this for gluing. What you do is you just pour glue in some piece of throwaway plastic, and you can use it as a dip and then brush it on whatever you're brushing. And you can get a nice thin, even coated layer so that when you adhere another piece of paper on top of whatever you're adhering it to, glue doesn't squeeze out along the side. If you do get glue globs, what I recommend is having a pack of baby wipes on the side. Baby wipes. They are awesome for cleaning up edges of things and for, you know, helping you knock out some things that you may have made a mistake on here or there. Okay, oh, I see I didn't clean the brush well enough. I have some crumblies of the polyurethane on the side here, but I love it. I love it. It's very, very easy to clean. Nothing really sticks to it. All right, and it's washable. You just wash it out and you dry it, let it dry, and use it again. The next type of glue I have here is a gel glue. They call it advanced gel glue, a 3-in-1. Let me move this out of the way so I can really show you. Okay. Aleene's Tacky Glue is one of my favorites. You can get jugs of gel glue too and refill these bottles if you want to. They're acid-free and waterproof. They dry crystal clear. It is a little bit thicker than your regular glue. If you have fabric that you want to glue onto paper or cardboard, I like this better. It's not quite, it's instant grab. It's not quite as watery as the other. It doesn't quite bleed through the fabric or the paper as much. If you have fabric flowers to glue on, or string or lace or something like that, I like these gel glues better because they have a little bit more hold and they're less likely to bleed through the paper. Okay, that's those glues. Okay, the other thing that I use for glue, when you have really tricky things, sometimes like wood, if I'm gluing a piece of diamond painting canvas onto something, if I'm gluing on something that has a little bit of weight, I will use B7000. Now this smells a little, okay, but it is instant, it's strong, and you don't have to go, you come back 5 seconds later and it's done. There, I got this one on Amazon, and it already has this no clog pin that goes into this little metal tube. I love this cap. No matter what, no matter what, even when I am finished with this tube, this cap is staying with me, folks. I am tired of shoving pins and needles into the ends of skinny tubes to try to keep them clear. That is a game changer. All right, I'm just letting you know. And of course, if you just want something decorative temporary, you could always go with washi tape. I have tons of washi tape that I've gotten over the years. You can find it everywhere, anywhere, even Staples. You can find it everywhere. Washi tape is just a paper tape. It's like a masking tape. It's not easy to write on top of without smearing, even with a Sharpie or something like that, but it'll hold stuff temporarily in place without, when you peel it up, it won't rip the paper to pieces. And it's decorative. You can leave it in place. You can put some glue stick underneath it and put it there permanently if you want to. Just some ideas. They're great for temporary and decorative ideas. So that's the glue stick. Of course, I had told you before about pens, the calligraphy pens and markers and other things, and a pencil now. What I like also is if I have some pen marks that I can't get out, I got from Staples a whole bag full of these, and this is a whiteout strip that you lay it down. I use this in planning. I use this for everyday work. You can write over top of it in a moment or so. It doesn't take long to get it to a point where you can write over it. So a whiteout, a generic whiteout type thing. I believe they even have some at the dollar store, but they're probably cheaper in a big bundle, and I go through them like water. Okay, as you're creating the book jackets, and gluing things down. If you need things held down in place, these are called bowl clips. Bowl clips, they come in several sizes. The teeny ones are cute, regular paper clips, or you can use clothespins. Use these little clamps. These little clips I got in a pack from Temu, and I know they won't last forever. They're probably will last through just a few uses, but they're going to be fun. They're colorful. Fun, fun, fun. Also, in between stages, okay, I will get the outside of the box together the way I want it. I will get the signatures that I want to put in it arranged together, and then I will rubber band the whole mess. Let's see. I'm going to get one long enough. I will rubber band the whole mess together. And it's going nowhere until I get to the stage where I want to actually sew the signatures in. The problem with sewing them in right away, and you'll see, is that you can't, sometimes you need to mess with the cover before you sew the signatures in. I don't always want to put a cover on until I know what I'm going to use for the signatures inside. You know, I like to get a theme going, and so in between time, I just clamp it all together with some rubber bands and go from there. It's a junk journal after all, right? All right, so now we're going to talk about what you can use for the outside of your junk journals. You can use candy boxes, and I have one here ready to rip apart. The basic stages of cutting a box apart are the same, whether it's a candy box, a pasta box, a cracker box, a fiddle faddle box, Crunch and Munch, Cheez-Its, whatever. Doing these boxes are all about the same. And I'm going to show you with this box how to do that. I'll show you a couple different things I use and how I work with them. But basically, to take it from a box into a book cover, you open up the bottom, and basically I just shove my finger underneath it and open it up. When you look inside, one side will be overlapped. Can you see how one side is overlapped? If you peel it apart, there are two pieces glued together by the factory in here. That is where I gently peel it apart to flatten the box. Okay. And I will take a scissors or a craft knife and trim the extra paper, because basically I'm just undoing it. All right, these boxes are nice and solid. I kind of like, if I'm not going to use the outside, if I'm going to use the outside of a box, I want it to read right. I want the cover to be on the outside if I'm going to use this as the cover. It's a fun cover, you know? It's a fun cover. So, a lot of the boxes along the edges, they have already scored it, or they put like a bump, a thicker area type of thing where they bend their cardboard. Okay. I like to leave these little flaps along. What I'm going to use is the back of it. I like to leave them there and glue them down. Basically because if I'm going to string anything or sew anything, have anything hanging off of the back, I need it a little bit sturdier. Okay, so I leave these little things on. I just fold them in for now. You can either fold in the flaps and glue them down as they are. Okay. Or you can trim them off right along that edge. And that's what I'm going to do this time. Okay. So I'm going to take it along that white edge and cut right into that ridge. Okay. There we go. Cut right into that ridge, one ridge off. And if you have a ripped up edge on this side, hey, it's a junk journal, right? Who cares? But you can also glue the flaps in. If you want a sturdier box, a sturdier cover, you can glue the flap in. It's up to you. If you, I kind of like these as, I cut the little tab off. That can be a tab that I use as part of a tab within the notebook itself. Okay, there's nothing really redeemable about that. You're gonna have some trash. Another handy thing is have a trash can handy. Okay, sometimes I'll cut. Well, let's do that now. I'll cut it down between the mix and the 10 flavors. That's a cute one. Great for sharing. That's a neat one. And then I have the Mike and Ike Mega Mix. These are all things that you can use as the edge on the edge of the pages as dividers, like page dividers. And sometimes I'll trim off any spare yucky stuff. All right. Another thing, and I'll put them aside for later. Ton of them. Do I use these flaps? Generally, no. Sometimes I will use, if I know which side is the bottom, I will fold them up if I want flaps at the bottom. If this is my front, this is going to be the bottom. I don't want to glue them down because I want to use them as tuck spots. Okay? That's the only reason why I would keep these two on the bottom. Okay? If you are going to flip it around, if you want the white side of the box in, you flip all the flaps to the other side. You decide which one is going to be the front. I still like this as the front, even if it's on the inside. You open it up and, hey, cool. You know, and it just is fun. I will always cut the top ones off. And of course, that depends whether you're using it this way or whether you're using it this way. So at this point, you have to decide whether you want this as your cover. If you don't like it, you can always cover it up later, and then all you have is a white inside. So I am going to decide that I want this as the outside cover, and I'm going to cut off the top ones. Again, this one goes inside. Sometimes when you eat them, they have the push to open here, and you have this little hole here. It happens. So I like to go on the inside and cut it from the inside because I can really see the ridge, depending on the light. And it doesn't take as much wear and tear as the spine. Okay. So, again, I'm going to look and see if there's any redeemable value to what I'm cutting off. And there could be. Doesn't have to be, but there could be. So, I'm just going to trim a little of that off. If I don't use it, I chuck it. All right, so I'm going to leave the flaps on the bottom. I'm going to leave this little extra sturdy flap at the top. And clean off the edges later. So there is my book body. That's one type of book body. Okay, I am going to do the same thing with the Cheez-It box. Sometime it might be fun to have this on the front. The hot sauce. My husband ate that one. I didn't. Right, I'm going to look inside again to see which is the overlap spot. I'm going to gently peel it apart at the overlap spot. I do that because these are just built-in spines. I mean, cool. I usually side with, okay, that's not going to be the front this time because the spine is on this side, and that's not the way that most of us read books. I don't really want that on the back. Will it be right side up if I use it on the inside? Yes, it will. Okay. All right, that's what I'll do. I'll use this on the inside. So this I'm going to leave as a flap. And make sure I score it. And sometimes to make sure it stays that way, I take the edge of my scissors and just scratch along the edge to encourage it to stay there. To encourage it to stay. Don't worry about this junk sitting there. It'll be either covered up or pulled off in your process. All right. Here we go. All right, I want to do that to the top inside here. And you don't have to keep the whole thing. If you just want, see this has a graduated size, you might want to cut off that lip there and use that as a tab, an inside tab. Well, it's kind of fun. Because the longer it is, the more it might interfere with your stitching if you're going to stitch it or staple it in. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to go, and if you need to, just draw a line straight across. But it's a junk journal. I'm going to do that to the bottom as well. I do not want to interfere with my stitches as I stitch down the... Oh, that's a weird shape. This one was like not straight. It's still not straight. Okay, done. Okay. So, okay, I'm going to leave the bottom flaps in. I'm going to leave these flaps in. I don't really need the top. They sometimes interfere, and I don't always need this. You could do that with the other side. I don't like that edge. I like to see the whole Cheez-It thing. So what I'm going to do is I might leave these tabs here, but I'm going to cut the whole edge off, and I'm going to cut the two top flaps off completely. So let's do it from this side since it has the picture. I'm going to try to keep all of the bump, cut all the bump off. It just looks nicer and neater that way. If you don't trust your scissors, you could use your knife and your X-Acto blade and your sealing mat. Again, cut the tabs off. I'm going to clean off the edge. You can use this as a bookmark, as a tag, as something you tuck in. You can decorate it up, make it look like something completely different, or it can be the spine of a completely different book. Don't throw these away. Same with these little boogers on the top. Okay, pasta boxes are fun because they have that little window, a little plastic window that you see the style of pasta through it. All right, I'm going to cut the edge off. I like to do all of mine in stages. You know, I get a whole bunch of covers ready to do, and then, you know, ready to make insides for. So I'll do this to all my Cheez-It boxes. I'll do this to all my Mike and Ike boxes. Either way. So I'll get a whole bunch of those ready at the same time. Another thing you can do, other than using boxes, you can use old book covers. Now I've already cut the guts out of these, and I'll show you how to do that and some of the other ones that are sitting here. You can see a woven cloth in the inside. These are old. This was from, I don't know, 1916. And before you yell at me for taking apart a book that was from 1916, it was an old hymnal that there were tons of them. This is an old beat-up cover. I love the old beat-up cover. They were going to put them out and burn them. So, if you can go to an old church who may be closing, who is getting ready to get new hymnals, you may look in resale shops or charity shops. They may have a few hymnals or old books that you might want to use. The hymnals are a nice big size. Oh, I saved the inner pages. It says, please let me alone. Church property. Okay, Orwigsburg, PA. All right, my Orwigsburg peeps. You know you were throwing these out. I was a pastor there for about 12 years. Red Church in Orwigsburg. Love the people there to this day. Love them, love them. These were some of the old books that they let me sell some of them to others when they were getting rid of them, and they got the proceeds for them. I did not. I didn't want them. They went back. So this is, I'm going to keep this flyleaf in. I love the handwriting in that one, and I love the way it was, and just the whole noting what the book was to begin with. So, and then it has the copyright date, copyright 1914 and 1916 by Hope Publishing. The writers are in there. It was 90 cents in the beginning. Isn't that cool? 11 popular music books, all kinds of hymns from that same publishing company. And the back has no notes. So I try to keep as much of the originality of it as possible. Here's another one, Hymns for Children, When Boys and Girls Sing. This was from 1957. Okay, so again, Zion's Union Sunday School, same church, a different old hymnal. These are the flyleaf pages. And if you wanted to, you could use these to glue into part of the guts that you're going to put in them. So I make hymnals and books ready. If you get old books, any old book, doesn't have to be a big fancy old book. Here's one, the Butterick Book of Recipes and Household Helps. I'm sure I did look. This one is how to write letters for all occasions. Yeah. Electric refrigerator recipes and menus from General Electric Refrigeration. These were a dime a dozen back then, I'm telling you. Let's see. It's still old. And some of these were old German writing from some kind of Sunday school. These were from 1902 from Allentown. You can see they're a little mousy chewed on the edges. They're worthless to anybody else, and they would be very easy to pull apart, and these papers make excellent background papers, and they're all in German. Okay, this is the Gesangbuch. No, Gefangbuch. Sonntag Schule, Sunday School. Evangelical Lutheran and Deutsche Reformer. That's a German Reformed Church. Gesangbuch. Sometimes the F's and S's look the same. Gesangbuch. So it is a songbook. It doesn't have any music in it, but it has the words to songs. So that is the songbook. Some of them, the covers are moldy. You're going to want to do something with that anyway. At least decorate the cover. This is another one. It doesn't have the first papers in. I kept at least one of each of these as a memorabilia book. So don't at me. This one's been so water damaged. I can refix the back of this, and we will do that together. But this was owned by a Harrison Miller. Number 19. Another German songbook. They're probably all the same songbook. either in red or black, just different editions. So I have a bunch of those that I'm going to do. Some of them are already coming out of their backing. So this one is ready to go. I don't have to do anything to that. And this is the guts. I'm going to save the guts because they make fun papers. And you'll see these again for sure. I love it when they're written on the inside. I love it. Save the guts. All right, there will be a time when you will see me use those. All right, so let's get started. How do you take the guts out of a book to use it for a junk journal cover? Well, as you can see, these old ones are easy. I'm going to take my mat here. I'm going to take my ruler and my X-Acto blade, and starting with this one that's almost out of the backing anyway, you can see that there's only two places where it's being held in place. Snip, snip. Okay. And it's slightly still stuck to a portion of the back. The glue is dried and rotting. It's not gonna, I know my allergies are gonna say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you playing with moldy books? Okay, this will have to have its backing reinforced, as most of these books will, but it's so cool that it already has the back on it. I'm going to use it. I'm not going to rip it apart. I'm going to use that, but it'll give me a chance for the size. No writing, but look at the age stains in it. I love that. Love that. What character? All right. Okay. If it's a little harder, now I'm going to hold the book up like this, and I'm going to take the blade, and you can see right where there's a gap between the book and the backing and the book. I'm going to carefully take just the tip of my blade and score it along this little glue spine here, not going all the way through the back. I'm really just detaching the pages from the glue bead. Okay, already you can see that, but there's no slice in the cover at all. I'm keeping the covers attached to the backing, but cutting through the webbing, the glue webbing here to release it. It's a little tricky because I'm like holding it sideways. But the idea is to go down from the other side to just release the block. Phooey. Yeah, don't cut towards yourself. Cut away from yourself so you don't like stab yourself. It's always good to wear reading glasses so you don't have stuff jumping into your eyes, or you won't poke your eye out. All right. Ugh. Get all the dust and grime out from the spine. See, now that's the way the spine's going to look. Sometimes it'll have the glue bead still attached to the backing of the spine, but you have the fabric, you have a piece of thin cardstock in the inside, and you have the little flaps that flap down on each end. All right, and now you can see how thinly that is attached. All of the book is pulled to one side, and all that's left is this thin, gluey membrane. That's what you're hoping to achieve, especially on the old books that are so much fun to use. Okay? If you, let's see. Yep, and these are just as easy. When I'll use one of these as a demonstration when I get to page signatures. So I'll go ahead and take the spines out of these two, but I want to show you how to do it out of a newer book. Okay, so these are from the 1950s. You can see they're really solid. It's got a thin spine, but it's a nice big one. If you want to use it for a writing journal or something like that, these are good ones to take apart to use. They're thin. They've got this beautiful papery edge to it. Sometimes you're going to have to cut that. Most often you're going to have to cut that to release the signatures. You see that? See that thin place in there? Oops, I'm trying to, there you go. See the thin place in between there? That the back is still not attached. The only way it's attached is that webbing and the cover paper in between. I like to try to save those cover papers. Sometimes if you pull a page or two to the side, see how those two are connected to each other in a way that that page is not? See? They're kind of glued together here. I love that aging on the inside. And this picture on the front, that's awesome. What is this? What year is this from? This is the, it was $2. This book was $2. And it was from 1927, The American Homemaker. Oh, I love this. Do not throw out the guts. Look at these pictures. Are you kidding me? Anyway, back to back to opening it. Okay, so you have the cover with this gorgeous decorative paper in it. The decorative paper is often attached to the first fly leaf by a little bit of glue in there, gluing those two pages together, but they're not attached to these pages. So that's where I take my knife and I gently just take the tip of it and tease it along and angle it in so it's in between. It's not cutting the back. It's not cutting those papers apart. It's just releasing it from the rest of the block. Okay, and I'll go all the way down. I'll gently go all the way down. Okay. Okay, sometimes it builds up with fuzzies because the pages are old. You can saw a little bit, but just don't go deeply. Just use the tip. See, and already you can see it's releasing. Okay. Aha! I see some webbing in there. Some glue webbing. We're not going to use glue webbing in the same way that these books did. You can, if you want to learn formal bookmaking, you can do that. There are plenty other YouTube videos out there, not of mine. I haven't gotten into it. I want to, but I haven't gotten into it yet. I'm still working the junk journals. Still working the junk journal gene here. Okay, so as I'm opening it and pulling it away, you see how some of the webbing, the glue webbing, has come apart. You can gently take your scissors in between so that you're just cutting the webbing and not the backing. You still have all the front pieces attached to the backing. And again, you have a piece of cardboard attached to the fabric, and you have part of the fabric rolled over the edges. Okay, we might duplicate that at some point. What does the back of these look like? All right, the same freezer paper. And you have, let's see, it doesn't have, does it have to be? Yes, the same 2 pages glued together a little bit in the back. So again, you go by the same area, you pull the cover back completely to keep it out of the way. You take your knife and gently work yourself in between those papers. Okay? And I'm trying to do this, trying to show you it the same way, the same time I am gently working my way. This is notes on your favorite recipes. That's cute. That's neat to be saying in the back. Okay, so that's how I keep the fly papers in there. Is it splitting? Yes. I see some of the glue fabric I don't want to pull it too hard because the glue fabric may still be attached. All right, and that's where you need your scissors. Okay, that glue fabric comes right apart. All right, it's already apart. I'm just going to trim the rest of this glue fabric off. It just is dirt, makes dirt, it's disintegrated. Forget it. Okay, I'm not cutting into the paper, I'm just cutting away the glue fabric on the edge here. Okay, dust, dirt, ugh. Go away. Okay, so now I have a dust jacket. I'm sorry, not dust jacket. So now I have the book board with the fabric in the back. I have the decorative papers. I don't need to do anything more to the inside. It's perfectly beautiful. And I have some identification, a little bit of identification on what it was. And just the patina of age in here. Okay, and I have this really cool block, and I can use that as where I can glue down something else for a header on there. So that's that block. So, and I want to show you some of the pictures that are in here. Let me get some of the glue dust away. Okay, saw those. Let's look at some of these fun pictures. It's family sitting down to dinner. Menus for informal luncheons, and of course they're after bridge for midweek. Children's parties. Look at that refrigerator. That's pretty cool. Now I might keep this whole page together just for that reason, because it's showing you the General Electric appliances is basically what it is. How to use evaporated milk. There's a close-up of an inside of a freezer. Just that little, you know, futuristic like tube at the top was your freezer. I don't think you can get more than a couple ice cube trays in that. Look at these. Okay, enough of carrying on here. There's desserts, the old-fashioned things. If you want to, go through it and pull out some desserts that you want to use. But these pictures are priceless, especially in the beginning of the book. Okay, a lot of page detail you can use. Hey, if you have a theme, there you go. You got a theme. So let's see, what else am I going to use? I do have poster boards, and basically I'll try to find, if I want it that big, that's fine. Sometimes I'll use these as spines. The tea bags now come in these little trays. I cut down the sides and open them up. That's perfect for a spine. Okay, it's even reinforced. You can either, you know, rip the flaps off of it, but they're already glued down. I just cut along those two edges and you already have a spine that you can drop into something if you want to. So I saved a whole bunch of those for spine making. Let's see. I'll decide as we go what to use those on. Move over. Sometimes your cardboards that you cut off of things, like we did earlier, can be used as spines. These are just slices of cardstock. And remember, we pulled that off of the Cheez-It box? That can be a good spine for a book too, if you don't have one. So that's there. The tea bag boxes, what I did with those was I just opened them up completely. I carefully peeled apart the edges and opened them up completely. I want to use this as the cover. I know that already. I'm going to leave this flap on because it goes into the white. And I think I'm going to leave the bottom flap on. I could have left this. No, I couldn't have. I need to cut off this little flippy piece here. Yeah, I'm cutting on an angle here. All right, throw that piece away. It's white and it doesn't need to do anything. So basically what I'm going to do is discover more about tea and glue this together, so now I have a really nice tuck spot at the end. I don't want this thing on the top. I'm going to keep these flaps. I might cut them back. I probably will cut them back so they're shorter. They won't interfere with stitching them together. Just like I did the other boxes. You can measure, you don't have to measure. You can eyeball it. I eyeball everything. It's a junk journal. Goodness gracious. This is going to be a bigger flap for the back. I like that. And this has this weird, you know how you pull the strip off to open the box? So it's got this weird thing, and when you pull it off, it's going to look bad. So I'm going to cut the whole edge off, and I'm going to cut these top two off. And let's see what we can do with those. I'm going to do it from the colored side so I can see what I'm doing. This is the right flap, am I right? Okay. This is thin cardboard, but it can still be used for a back if you want. Where am I? This flap, I need to cut off this top flap. I don't need this. Okay, this would make a nice tab. Oh, one of my tea bags, I save the little tags at the ends of the tea bags and I use those as tags too. So I'm going to just clean off the edges. I probably am going to cut this off straight. Bing, you have another divider if you'd like. You can cut them into pieces to make them smaller. Like, okay, I have a yellow to go with it that way. Another yellow one to go with it, so it's a perfectly same color, and then you have a divider. All right, I'm going to keep those around. What else do I need to do to clean this up? I'm going to cut this whole end off, right? I'm sure there are an infinite ways of doing things like this. This just happens to be my way of doing it. Okay? All right, the edges of these aren't redeemable. Okay, yes, you could make them into little things, but you know what? You have to decide what you're going to keep and what you're not, because there's an infinite, you can't keep everything. And I don't keep trash or what I deem to be trash. All right, that's got a bit of glue on it, but I like that teapot here for iced tea. I am going to keep this into two different ones. I'm going to leave this America's Favorite Tea just as it is. That would make a nice little card to go in there. I'm going to cut this off right where that extra portion is. And it's already perfect. It has a little tab and everything. A nice little card. Ta-da! Done. All right, so here is my booklet that I'm going to keep. It has a flap up and a flap over. The bottom has a flap, and it's got the two little flaps tucked down on this edge. I'm going to do this with all of my tea boxes. These were older tea boxes. They don't have the cutout to show the gold. It had gold foil or something you can see through them. Some of them have that, some of them don't. So that's those. I'm going to cut. Things like this, you have to decide how big you want your piece. All right? You have to make some decisions about how big you want things. You could make your own completely from scratch from pieces of tag board, which is like the back of tablets. Sometimes sides of the boxes aren't redeemable. Like this was a tissue box. I really loved the pictures on it. So I just used the front cover, the same two sides, one for the front, one for the back cover. And that's where something like this is going to come in handy. You can determine how big you want your spine. It looks like the papers I want to put in here are too big for the cover. Well, well, well. I can either trim all the papers down to the right size, which is probably what I will do, because I like how the papers, the cardstock in there goes with it. I put it together. And I'll use part of this as the spine for this. So for right now, they get rubber banded together until I'm ready to make the spine. And I will show you how to make a spine in the next video. Even I'm going to show you how to make a box bottom into a junk journal video. All right, so get prepared. In addition, what if you are cutting into a box or a book that there's just no spine? That what you might use as a spine is way too fat, you don't want it that wide, or what happens if your book falls apart and it doesn't have a spine to go in between? Well, in the next video, I'm going to teach you how to make spines and how to make book covers out of crazy shapes that you can then cut down, create a spine for, and create the back of a book. Also, for the other books that we cut apart, the spines are weak. They need some reinforcing. So I'll show you in a spine video how we strengthen our spine. For more videos in Junk Journal June and July, also join us for Tea and Talk Tuesdays, where all kinds of crafty people will get together at Wanda's Workbasket at YouTube on 10 p.m., 9 p.m. Now, Eastern Standard Time for YouTube Live. And you can share your pictures on Wanda's Workbasket on Facebook. All right. Leave your comments below. What do you think? Do you have any of these things? Are you going to go junk shopping? All right. Bye, divas. See you later.